Hey everyone, welcome in to another episode of Metal Forge Reviews. Metal album art is our topic for today, and I'm going to be talking about some of my favorite album artwork and photography from this year. Thanks for tuning in. Be sure to leave some comments below with some of your favorite album covers of the year as well. Album covers are integral to the total package of the musical experience. I'm sure that you've bought an album simply based upon what the cover was showing, and on the other side of that coin, I'm sure that you've avoided albums based upon what the cover was showing. There are a lot of factors as to what make album covers great, and it is entirely subjective, I realize that, but here are some of the things that I like to look for. Initial impressions and cohesion. If this isn't a band that I'm familiar with, how does the cover relay what genre I might expect from the artist? Are there tropes at play that give me any hints as to what I should be expecting when I put the CD in my CD player? In cohesion, how does the music fit the album cover? And on the other side of that, how does the album cover fit the music? Design. This isn't intended to be an art critique by any means, but some of the design basics should be in play here. Things like color value, flow, balance, contrast, etc. And feel. Art is intended to make you feel something within the first moment of you just looking at it. Album art for a doom metal band shouldn't make me feel joy-filled, just as album art from a power metal band shouldn't make me feel sorrowful. So there you go. With that said, let's get to my picks. I originally went with here are the bands and the album art, but then it kind of tumbled into something completely different where I will begin to talk more about the actual artists. So my first pick is Counting Hours. They are a Finnish melodic doom death metal band that we just heard of today, thanks to our new forge mate, Mohammed Mohsen. And when he told us that it's members of Rapture, I immediately jumped onto it. It's a brilliant album, great album, and I really love the album art. Don't quote me on this. I believe this looks like a digital illustration, and the artist is Kalle Pitinen, a Finnish guitarist, artwork designer, and illustrator. I love anything that portrays the winter. The heavy contrast between the forest and the snow is just brilliant, and I absolutely love the red glow that illuminates the treetops, just almost smack dab in the middle of the artwork itself. It leaves for very nice balance. And my only gripe is the logo. The typography doesn't really fit. I kind of wish they'd maybe use more of like a plain font style. It kind of throws off the whole mood of the artwork. Other than that, I thought that this was a really cool album cover from this band. Vacant Ties. I have their CD right here, actually. A somber preclusion of being. They are a funeral doom melodic death metal band from Western Massachusetts, good friends of ours, and also another good friend of ours, Kishor Haulenbeek, was on the artwork design for this. He's an incredibly talented multi-instrumentalist and an artist, and he has been very busy this year, doing some spectacular covers for bands like Marrowfields, Afterbirth, Rannoch, and his own band, Black Harvest. Look, we don't talk enough about Marrowfields here because it's Brandon's band. I don't want it to be seen as a conflict of interest, but you know what? I don't see Brandon around, so you know what? It's not a conflict of interest. This is coming from me. Metamorphosis by Marrowfields is a fucking spectacular album. It's brilliant. The music's great. The album artwork's great. You should just get on it, and that's all I'm going to say about that. This Vacant Eyes cover is what I'm really talking about, though. And it is everything that I would expect from this album. A bleak, dead forest and haunting apparition that almost seems to be introducing, hey, here it is, the band logo. I love the band logo, too. It's great. The balance of the design is great, and how the figure appears to be emerging from the tree is just fantastic. It's very well illustrated. Print itself seems to be a bit darker in value than the digital version, which is kind of my only small gripe. I understand that this was an independent release, and when you're an independent band, you only have so much control over, you know, what the printer is doing. You know, if this was a bigger release through a big label or something like that, then maybe they would have had a little bit more say in as to, hey, you know what, that's not really the color hue that we were going for, but very small potatoes here. The album art on A Somber Preclusion of Being is brilliant. Kishor Haulenbeek, put him on your radar if you're into very talented artists. Deadwood Trees Mourn. Deadwood Tree is a melodic death sludge band from Spain, and their independently released full-length album Mourn caught my attention solely based upon its grim yet beautifully illustrated cover art. The artwork was done by the very own guitarist Gonzalo Ionis. There's so much life to this illustration, contrasted by so much death. Take a look at the leaves on the water. The ripples look like they've just been formed, as if the leaves have just plummeted to the earth and landed in the water. The red and blue elements in this composition contrast quite beautifully. I love the deep saturation of the colors as well. This is one of those pieces of art that just grabbed my attention, and I knew it would be something powerful when I fired up the music. Spell is a hypnotizing heavy metal band from Vancouver, Canada, and they released a damn fine album with their third full-length, Opulent Decay. When we interviewed Cam Mesmer of Spell earlier in the year, he gave us a fantastic recollection of how he quite literally stumbled upon the painting that would become the album's cover art. You should watch the interview to hear the full story from him, but to summarize, he was allowed access into an obscure room in a bookstore in the basement, where all obscure rooms obviously are, and he came across a collection of German artist Max Ernst. And as he was flipping through the pages of that collection, he came across this piece that you see here. And, well, as they say, the rest is history. I love cool stories like this where the musician's just waiting for the perfect last bit, that last element to just kind of fall into their lap. This album cover speaks so much to what you'll experience with Spell's music. Their decision to leave the band logo and the album title off of the cover is a great one. I think that would have detracted from Max Ernst's surreal artwork. Snorlax, the one-man blackened death metal band from the land down under. Their debut full-length album 2 is a 23-minute ripper that features an utterly abysmal atmosphere and cavernous vibes. The album art from artist Necrofrost fits the mood quite perfectly for this album. Its style is super unique with this perverted form of pointillism. You really have to get an up-close look to see the details of this piece, but even from afar, you know that it's something grim, demonic, and infernal. I actually didn't notice this until now, but the top half of the artwork almost looks like a skull with the two eye sockets and the nose socket right in the middle. It's pretty radical and definitely one of my favorites of this year. Now, this one, I was kind of looking more towards the artist itself. I was looking for Travis Smith pieces. I am not familiar with Psychotic Waltz, but Travis Smith, to me, is one of the all-time greats. The guy seriously has one of the best resumes in metal album covers, as far as design and artwork and illustration. And man, this is just a beautiful yet chaotic cover. And I love the color choices on it. What seems to be kind of an intentional glitch and pixelation effect in the upper right-hand corner. Very, very cool. And it's definitely one of the more unique pieces of album art that I've seen all year. As I said, I was looking for something that Travis Smith did, and this one immediately caught my eye. I have not heard this album by Psychotic Waltz yet, but just based upon the album artwork alone, I want to check it out. Now, I wanted to put the Acacia Strain's Slow Decay, okay? This band is very hit or miss for me. I was pretty excited for Slow Decay after I heard It Comes in Waves, which is an awesome album. Unfortunately, Slow Decay only had a few good songs on it and wasn't really impressed by it. However, I realized that the artist Caelan Stokkerman is actually very well established, and he's a great artist who has done another one of my favorites of this year, Echoes of Deep November from Fires of the Distance. That was going to be on my list here, but I figured let's just lump Caelan Stokkerman into this one pick. He's done more artwork too. He's done stuff for Lorna Shore, Misery Index, Vivisection, and many more. I highly suggest you go over to his website where you can check out his work. He's got some brilliant pieces on there. In the front of Slow Decay is actually just the beginning piece of a landscape scene that transitions into a barren wasteland. I love it. It's stunning. Great work by Caelan. Catatonia City Burials. Lasse Hoile was the photographer for the cover art. He's a pretty well-established Danish photographer, with some of his most famous work actually having been done with Porcupine Tree. This is the only cover art that's actually a photo versus an illustration of some sort. And as an amateur photographer myself, I'm a sucker for a powerful portrait that puts some of our most raw and vulnerable human emotions on display. City Burials features a stunning image with their iconic crow in the upper right-hand corner. Just barely visible. Crow Titania, anybody? I love when bands go with something just completely out of the ordinary, like a grayscale close-up with super harsh lighting. It's a brilliant image. Now, here's another one where I was looking at the album art and I said, wow, this album art is brilliant. And then I realized how brilliant the artist themselves really is. The Ghost of Orion is one of my favorites as far as album musically and album cover. But then I realized how awesome the Berlin-based artist Eliran Kantor, and he's just created so many magical album covers of this year. You might recognize some of these. Havoc's V, Cult of Lilith's Mara, Testament's Titans of Creation, and Incantation's Sect of Vile Darkness. These are just scratching the surface. He's got at least a handful more that he's done just this year alone, and they're all in that beautifully painted sort of style. And he's very diverse too. He does things that are very chaotic and gross looking, and then he's got some more like Renaissance era style and that are just beautifully done. Man, I think it's safe to say that Eliran has put out some of the most iconic album artwork of this year alone, period, hands down. He definitely deserves your attention. If you're a sucker for an illustrator with a diverse range of skills, go over to his website. He's got some great stuff going on. Man, that was a total rabbit hole that I fell into. Brandon suggested this morning, hey dude, you got a video to put up on Thursday. How about you do album artwork? I'd love to see what your thoughts are on album artwork. And I'm so glad that I did, because we are both suckers for brilliant artists, graphic designers, photographers. That's one of the reasons why we love music, is because that cohesion between art and sonic qualities, when they get married together like that, is just, it's a match made in heaven, and I love that. And I'm sure you do too, because I think that's one of the reasons why vinyl has hit such a revival. People want tangible things. They want to open up the art. They want to be able to put that huge poster that's stuck in the vinyl record on their wall or whatever. It means so much more to people when they can see that poster or that big piece of artwork right in front of them versus, on a screen or a pixelated image or something like that. It makes total sense to me, and it's one of the reasons why I love physical merchandise. Man, I'm telling you, this has just been such a rabbit hole. I'm very passionate, if you can't tell. Very excited about discovering album art and covers and new artists, new illustrators, new photographers. This is just very exciting for me. What are some of your most exciting and favorite album arts from this year? Definitely leave us a comment below. And as always, thank you if you have subscribed. And if you haven't already and you want to see more stuff like this, be sure to subscribe to our channel. Go with the gods. Forge on, friends.